Hi, my name is Dion. Welcome to Ascension Parish Library's presentation, Meet Your Neighbor, Mr. Randy Prairie. Randy Prairie graduated from Commercial College in 1974 as an accomplished artist. He paints in charcoals, watercolors, acrylics, and other mediums as well. Randy Prairie worked for the Nottoway Plantation home for over 20 years. He retired in November 2020. When he worked at the Nottoway Plantation home, he did renovations as well as maintenance, and he was the go-to person for many different things at the plantation home. Would you please help me welcome Mr. Randy Prairie in this special interview? Randy, I'd like to ask you some questions about your art. But first of all, where are you originally from and where did you grow up?
I grew up in South Baton Rouge. I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Jefferson Terrace subdivision. We went, back when I was living there, it was more like your house was right there next to the woods. It's like it really grew up in a rural type situation, and it quickly changed, over the years.
That's amazing to imagine Baton Rouge as once being rural.
Yeah, but it was.
That's amazing. And when did you first start creating art? Like, how old were you?
I was in the fourth grade when I first started doing any painting. We studied birds in the fourth grade for some reason, and once we did all the book work, the teacher got out the tempera paints and said, "Hey, look, we're gonna paint a bird. Pick one and let's start painting." And I picked a golden pheasant and started painting, and the teacher goes, "Well, you doing pretty good, Before, that's the first time I ever even tried to draw, So it's like it was, and she let me draw after that. Of course, my grades went down a little bit, but
Yeah, so you mostly focused on your art after that.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. Here's another question. Why do you create art? Like, is it therapeutic or what does it do?
Definitely it's therapeutic. It's something within you, and you just got to do it. It's like you get images of something you want to paint in your head, and they stay there until you put them on paper. It's like, so you really at its mercy. You got to do it.
And it relieves stress when you create art.
Oh yeah. I mean, I know when my kids were growing up, I wouldn't start maybe painting till about 9 o'clock at night once they went to bed.
Wow.
And so I'd get up there and start painting at 9 o'clock, and it seemed like you was there maybe a half hour, and when you look up, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So I got to go to work tomorrow. It's like, so yeah, it definitely stress relieving.
Wow, and you just really enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. Oh yeah.
What has influenced your art?
A lot of the wildlife and stuff. I mean, I like to paint wildlife. You can see in some of the paintings I do, and it just, it's just something that you can create. It just makes you feel like you creating something that everybody else can see. And it's not everybody that can do it. A lot of people out there can, but not everybody.
Right. And did the place you grew up in influence your art at all?
Yeah, because like I said, it was kind of rural back then when I grew up out there. And then also they had Alligator Bayou down there in Spanish Lake, and you had a lot of wildlife, a lot of fishing game out there, did hunting and fishing out there. So that kind of got me started. When we first started painting in the fourth grade, like I said, we started with birds, and I kind of continued with it. It's like, that's kind of my favorite thing to paint is birds.
Wow, that's wonderful. And here's another question for you. Do you have any favorite artists or anyone that you really admire as an artist, or even from the past, like a long time ago?
Norman Rockwell was one of my favorites. It's like all the stuff he did was just incredible. It's like, but I mean, I liked all the older artists, the Van Gogh and Picasso and all of those. And like Picasso, he does some of that crazy stuff, but he also painted a lot of paintings that were more natural that you don't usually see.
Wow, that's amazing. What mediums do you like to use in creating your art, especially?
I try to paint anything I can get my hands on. You know, a lot of people specialize and they believe that they specialize so they can get better in that media, which is true, you know. But I find if I paint too much in one medium, I want to do something else. So then I'll go from oils. My favorite's acrylic, but then I'll also do pastels, pen and ink, and I also carves, you know, so it's like
So you like a variety.
variety, big, wide variety, yeah, yeah.
Is it because you get tired of doing one and you just want to change
Yeah,
it?
definitely. Yeah, you don't get burnt out on one thing that way, you know. It's like
Right, and it keeps it fresh.
another thing is that if I feel like if I didn't do it, then I didn't accomplish that. You know, it's like I gotta try it, even if you know maybe I don't like it as much as one of the other medias. I gotta get in there and dig in there and get after it till I can do it to my
Do you like it?
to my liking. Yeah.
What's your favorite medium to work with?
Acrylic.
Acrylic.
I kind of learned in oils, but oils takes a longer time to dry. And I'm always getting my hands and getting messy and everything else, you know. So it's like, okay, so when I got to acrylics, it's like it really dries fast so you don't get quite as messy. Plus, doing watercolors, the old watercolors that you use, now the watercolor purists would say, okay, you know, he's not a true watercolorist. But they would say, "Oh, you're using acrylics," you know. But the old watercolors, if you put too many colors in there and keep painting on it, it'll get muddy. What they call muddy, it'll start getting brown looking. And acrylics don't do that. Once that acrylic is dried on there, it's permanent. And so when you go back over with another color, then that color shows through over the top of it, and you won't get that muddy look to it. So I use them because of that, you know. So.
Right. That's awesome. Here's another question. How often do you create your art now? You said you did it a lot when your kids were younger, but how often do you do it now?
Pretty regular. Maybe once or twice a month, you know, I'll have something new, you know. But there again, because I do taxidermy work, I'll finish some taxidermy projects, and then I'll go back and paint another picture. And basically the same thing as with the painting, changing different medias. You don't get burnt out doing one thing, you know. So you do a little taxidermy, then you go do some paintings, you know. And it's plus the taxidermy helps when you doing fish painting or duck painting and stuff. You know exactly what it looks like. Basically, that's the whole thing. You like to any new artist. It's like know what you're painting. You know, research it, look up everything you can, and find all the pictures you can of it. You know, get out in the woods and look at it. You know, whatever. You know, that helps you out more.
What type of art would you describe your art as?
Realistic.
Realistic.
Yeah, yeah. I've tried impressionistic, or I don't even try abstract. It's like I don't know. I don't want to.
I think
degrade the abstract
realistic art is more complicated than all the other kinds of arts because you have to make it look real.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah. And some people do it realistic and they do super realistic, where you know that's a little bit more than what I do. Mm-hmm. You know, I just try to create an image that looks like what I'm looking at. You know,
right.
I'm not trying to get every hair on something. You know,
right.
Yeah.
Have you had your pieces displayed at different places?
Yeah, when I worked at Nottoway Plantation, we had displayed them on the walls over there at Nottoway, and a lot of the art shows in the area, you know, some around Baton Rouge, mostly Plaquemine, Downsonville, you know, different places, you know. But with the COVID, you know, you really missed the art shows, so I was glad y'all called to even do this virtual art show.
Well, that's
so
awesome.
Like really,
yeah, we're going to take a look at some of your pieces in a little while.
Yeah.
They certainly are beautiful. What legacies do you think your art will leave, Randy?
I don't know. I just hope they, you know, that people just want to see it. You know, it's like, you know, if it's hang on somebody's wall, you know, and that's all you can hope for, you know.
Yes, kind of like maybe like some of the classical artists that basically have their works still displaying in a museum somewhere, in France or something.
Yeah, well, I do have one piece in France.
You do?
I actually got prints and stuff all around the world.
You do? Oh my gosh, I didn't know
We had
that.
prints, at Nottoway, and we had people come from all over the place and they'd buy them, And,
Wow, that's incredible. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So you have them displayed all over the world.
Actually, the culture exchange group in Gonzales had asked me to do a painting for them.
Uh-huh.
They had a French group that come visit them, and then they would go to France. And they called me one time to do a painting to give to the French people because they were going back home. They invited me to the supper they had, and so I did the painting. And so it's that painting hangs in Milan in the city.
Wow, that's
City Hall,
amazing.
yeah.
That's amazing. Now, do you sell your paintings overseas also, or you just have them displayed overseas?
No, it's just a few of them. Most of them it's personal collections that people. Most of them are prints, and they bought them like mostly at Nottoway, and brought them home with them, and displayed them over there, So, but most of them local, yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Randy, this has been a wonderful time with you, learning about you as an artist. And now we're going to start taking a look at some of your works.
Right.
They certainly are beautiful. We have quite a few of them here right now at the library. So let's now take a look at some of your art.
All right. This painting is a little Cajun girl. It's one of my granddaughters, Sophie, and she was sitting on an alligator that was caught during hunting season, and it wasn't alive, of course. But when painted it where it looked like she's sitting on a live alligator. She was basically in the driveway, and I painted the swamp scene in behind her. That way it gives a lot better effect as a Cajun girl. All right, this is a cabin in the swamps, and it's just basically a swamp scene painted. It's got some of the wildlife, a prothonotary warbler in the foreground, and guy in the pirogue poling around through the swamp. So it's like, it's sounded like a good painting to do. So we went ahead and painted it. Now this one I call Don't Jump. And there's a frog on this painting, and it's lily. You might not be able to see him from where you're at, and there's an alligator underneath it. If he jumps, that alligator might snatch him up real quick. So that's why I call it Don't Jump. This one's a Cajun moss picker. Now, I'm in the Bayou Pigeon Heritage Association, so it's like this was a painting I needed to do for the association, to kind of get a little bit more of the feel of the old Cajun things that they've done before, So that's why I painted this Cajun moss picker. Now this one's the alligator hunter. This is actually a self-portrait. On my Facebook page, I have a picture of me carrying that alligator, the same alligator, when I was in my shop. So we painted the swamp scene on like a foggy morning, coming out of the swamp with that alligator. Most of the time they do it in a boat, but it looked more dramatic like that. And this one's titled Louisiana Fish Hawk. This was a painting I did for the Wildlife and Fisheries, and it was a contest, and they picked mine, and basically what they did, they made the print, sold the print, and gave the proceeds to the wives and children of wildlife agents that was lost in the line of duty or injured, So and this one's called the Red Hunter, and it's a fox, and he's got a quail in his mouth. He's in a barnyard scene. The thing unique about this painting is it's done in Crayola crayons. You attribute crayons to little children scribbling colors in a color book, but if you use your media right and learn how to use it, you can accomplish things like this with just simply a crayon, Now this one has ties to Ascension Parish because it was done for the Jambalaya Festival. And I used to be in Art Guild in Gonzales. And so I painted this. It's my two grandsons, and they cook it in a mini pot. And they always have a mini pot competition at the Jambalaya Festival. So that's why I painted that. All right, this is basically 5 images of the same painting from start to finish. This is the progression of a painting, and till you get to your final finished product, and you add a few extra things to give it a little action to it, but just to show people exactly how to go from start to finish of a painting.